Hop Podcast. Let's go.
You're dealing with an expert in guerrilla warfare. With a man who's the best. With guns, with knives, with his bare hands. A man who's been trained to ignore pain, ignore weather, to live off the land. His job was to dispose of enemy personnel. To kill. Period. Win by attrition.
Dude. And they're covered in caramel from a Snickers I had. Melted.
Real and authentic.
Yeah. But I don't want to look like a jackass with a big old bird's nest here. So
That's all right.
yeah. I'm gonna go with the one.
There you go. Look cool
All
and
right.
hip like the kids these days. Patrick Ziegler, welcome to Secured Hop Podcast. It's a pleasure to have you on, man.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. We have to be able to bring to the audience stories of resilience and perseverance. And I mean, who better to talk to us about that than somebody that survived the absolute worst? So Patrick, thank you for being here. Please, let's dive into your story, man. November 5th, 2009. Arguably one of the most challenging days that you've ever experienced.
Arguably. No, that was and it's election day this year. So thank God I get to hear that date over and over again.
Yeah.
But no, just little tiny triggers like that don't bother me at all. And it's I went through a couple of titles for the book, and it was rough trying to find something neutral.
Yeah. Where
I didn't offend half the world, and I don't mind offending a couple people, but
it's definitely difficult, right? Because the incident,
everybody,
it is an Islamic terrorist that killed 14, injured 30 others on Fort Hood.
Right.
We don't need to say his name, but I can only imagine. So I think it's, before we get into that though, tell us about Patrick.
Thanks again for having me, Demi. I appreciate it. It's pretty awesome. We have a mutual friend, and I had no idea that you existed before meeting him.
Yeah.
So it's funny how that happens in the world. And it is a small world after all. Did not mean to do that. But so I was down in South Florida for the last week, 8 days, 9 days. I'm not sure. Probably lost a day, but and I got to go through the cycle with the new format that I have for a nonprofit that I love working with. Pretty much second family down in South Florida. And I don't like the place that much, but I like the people. So I like my company. Yeah. And
but that nonprofit?
It's the 22 Project. I'm wearing their shirt right now, and they do a lot of imaging. What they're trying to do is collect data so it can be presented to Congress and VA, thereby trying to collect data on hyperbaric oxygen therapy and its effects on healing and the psyche and everything. So what they do is before and after brain scans with the chemical thing added into your bloodstream. So it's pretty amazing, the before and afters. And I'll get a copy of my scans to you, and it's so much better. When I'm I'm out in public and I'm hitting on a girl or just flirting a little bit, and I'll say, "You want to see a picture of my brain?" And they freak out, they're really scared of blood and guts. I'm like, "No, it's a scan."
Yeah,
but I'm pretty proud of that. After 15 years this year, I'm walking around talking, and I'm having a great time. This year is it's the only year I think in my life I've stuck to my New Year's resolution, which was just to take a step back and enjoy being an author and and kind of explore the possibilities and opportunities if I just take a different approach. Last year, I was pushing it hard all over the country, and the book had just come out. So, it was overwhelming, really. And I feel a lot better now. And this last week in South Florida with those guys was just healing. And honestly, I was thinking about it earlier, and it's actual brain chemicals that, I made 4 or 5 new friends for life, and they're going to be involved hopefully for years to come. And we were all just thrown in a hotel room or hotel together, and we're all veterans, so we get along fine. It's weird how I have more friends that are Marines, trigger pullers, than Marine veterans, and then there's no such thing. And you got to be a little crazy to sign up as a cavalry scout or a sniper scout or any of that recon. And because I called my dad. I remember I called my dad on the phone and asked him, there's only because I wanted to go to war quick before it was over, and there was only 3 combat arms branches open, or MOSs. I said, should I be a field artillery, tanker, or a scout? And he said, oh, I don't know if you should be a scout. You might get caught out there or not. And he was right. I mean, I ignored him, of course, but but nowadays there's no such thing as a scout. You don't need a scout. You've got UAV, you've got every kind of airframe that can spy on the battleground, and it's a lot better to have unmanned. You don't have to risk those lives. And oh no, another $30 billion down the drain. Oh well, and
yeah, scouts are getting phased out.
Yeah, it's really too bad. But the history is it's really cool, and that's why I remember my first day at Fort Hood. I saw a guy I knew from Fort Knox, from basic OSA, and we were both just smoking cigarettes and waiting. And we were both talking about we wanted to go to the cab, and this staff, or no, it was a sergeant first class. So, he was legit, and he's like, what are y'all waiting for? Reception? You going to the cab. Yeah. And then throughout my career, I always wished that I had been attached to an infantry unit, but it's all good because I'm alive and at the beach.
Yeah.
That's really what's it's. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, tell us, having to revisit an event that's so shocking and filled with tragedy and loss is hard for anybody.
Yeah.
But Patrick, you're more than just unique. You are the survivor of something that few people ever thrive through this procedure going through. I mean, you were shot in the head, and to be alive is one thing. To be walking, to be talking, to be able to connect right now in this platform, that says a lot about resilience and the capability of healing. But I want to know, how was that journey? Because I know for a fact it was not without its perils and without its challenges.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I really embarrassed the shit out of myself, to be honest. Just with my Irish genes and mostly drinking. But that's because I like to party, and partying to me is going out with friends and getting drunk. And growing up, I was reading Hemingway, and the way he referred to it, it's just like normal. We're gonna go get tight.
Yeah.
And in the roaring 20s, of course, and I'm in the horrible 21st century. It just blows my mind, and I always was happy that I got to see the end of the 20th century and the new, but the technology is just incredible, and it's hilarious because we're gonna all die from AI, and we're like, oh, this stuff is so great.
Meanwhile, Sarah Connor.
Yeah. It's life imitating art, and it's pretty sad, but then again, it's great. So I could do stuff like this and share my friends' stories, and my story was really, and it's it's an unselfish act, and I really think it took years off my life. So I'm finding ways to heal from the writing process to enjoy being an author. Because while I was writing thing over the course of 5 years, it literally stabbing myself in the heart and mind. Uh, every day I struggled to get these stories on silicone, and I did it mostly myself. Only my right hand works, so the tendonitis in my right
Yeah.
arm is pretty incredible physical. And I just reminded me, that I'm lucky I get to be here and go through that. And I did it for, the world. It was a contribution type of thing. And it
Yeah.
needed to be done. If I didn't do it, nobody would ever have known these stories. So that's why I did it. And it kept me going. Of course, the ocean did. And, I reached pretty deep in my book of desperational like remedies. I got pretty dark for a while, but after, now that it's done, it's a totally different story, and I'm really glad I did it, and just try to recover as much as possible and enjoy. I mean,
Were
right
you,
now I'm looking at the ocean. It's
yeah.
incredible colors.
At any point
So,
were you trying to stay plugged in with a therapist and at least talk through as revisiting some of the darker chapters?
no, actually, because I had already been in so many hospitals that I already knew what they were going to say and what the routes of treatment were.
Mhm.
So, yeah, and basically one of them was CPT, cognitive whatever therapy, and you just write out everything that's in your head,
Yeah.
usually pen and paper. So, and I'd already tried that on a smaller scale, and then I just decided to dive in. And so one of my friends handed me $4,500 and said, "Go write a book or publish your book." And I said, "Okay." That was pretty awesome. Yeah, I'm sure we had a couple that night, but I ended up giving him my boat in exchange. It was a little 16-footer, so, and he ended up giving it to a friend in exchange for something else. So it was pretty cool. And yeah, well, it was broke, so we just left it on the trailer, and nobody was using it. We just passed it around. But
Nice.
yeah, that's Florida. And
Yeah.
I can't wait to get another boat. But that's in the bag of pipe dreams. So we'll see about that. But
Hey, the book's out there, so get some start get some sales generating.
yeah, that'd be pretty great. I'm actually hoping that when this guy that whose name we won't speak dies, that it kind of boosts everything about the book. Just from the flip side,
No.
and the results of what he did. So
Yeah. It's hard to look at our trauma, look what we experience, especially on your case, because it did take things from you. It did physically and
oh
mentally
yeah,
take so much from you, getting to the point where,
and everybody that was there.
yeah, it's hard. And I just talked about it, like the act of forgiveness.
Yeah,
It's a closure thing, but everybody has to find it on their own way in their own time. You cannot rush it.
yep,
And it definitely is easier when the person's dead.
yeah, yeah. That's a good point. It's funny you say that because it's in the book, and there's many stories about how I felt about all of that during the last 15 years. But the real measure of peace and forgiveness I finally found is when I was in Israel, and it was for the 10th anniversary of the shooting, which is what
Okay.
I call it. I don't call it the attack or the
Yeah.
incident or anything. It's the shooting, and so I had been hoping for it, and I thought it would be the River Jordan, but then uh, just by coincidence, the way the days fell, we were on top of Masada for the 10th anniversary, all damn day in the heat,
Mhm.
wandering around that thing. And so I was delusional from sweating and about to die, um, thinking about what it was like with these Jews that were on top of the mountain trapped, couldn't get down. And so they decided, hey, we're going to heaven if he lets us. And pretty incredible as we came down from Masada and went to the Dead Sea. And there was a bath and beauty salon there, whatever. It was October, and I decided I'm going to buy a couple of Christmas presents from the Dead Sea. And I walked in, and of course, it was Palestinians running it. And they welcomed me in, and I'm figuring like, oh, they're buttering me up to buy a bunch of their stuff. Of course. But then the wife leads me into the back, and they saw how tired I was. And she'd already put a chair out. There was already a chair there. And so she sat me down, and then they catered to me and said, can we get you something to drink? And I had already been chugging water. So I said Coca-Cola. And just on the off chance they had one. And they did. And I sat there the whole time. And this was during the time that the other guys that I was with had decided to go jump in the Dead Sea and float around. And it's just because of the difficulty of changing clothes with one hand and everything, I didn't want to go through that process in the locker room. And so ended up staying at the resort thing. And it was really great because I realized, and I had already known there were good Muslims, for a long time, especially in Iraq, which is, to me, is I've been studying it lately, and it actually is incredible where we were, the way that civilization began and the Bible references. Yep. Pretty incredible.
It feels like maybe God was giving you that chance encounter to help heal a wound. Did you feel that?
Yeah, I did. And I had already unofficially forgiven Hassan a long time before, because I knew that weight it is still with me, the weight of the amount of negativity that came from getting shot in the head. I mean, the first thing I did was want to fight him. The whole way to the hospital, I was trying to get out of the ambulance to go fight this guy.
Holy cow.
Yeah, it's in the book. I was like, where is he? Where is he? And that negativity just stuck with me for so damn long, and it led to the drinking and then the divorce and everything else. So, I just lost you. But I still struggle with it because of everyday things like having to put my clothes on. I'll get ticked off at the world basically. And then I realize, take a step back and look at the ocean, and I'm like, yeah, it's not the world. It's you. So, yeah. And down south with Adam, we were able to have a couple of good conversations like this, and it's just healing. I made like 4 or 5 new friends on that trip, and one of the best times I've had in South Florida, because no offense to anybody, but I don't really like it down there too much. I like the redneck country wood swamp environment up here in Daytona area. Yeah, it's a little more laid back and just kind of realistic. They get a little jaded down there, I think, and that's okay. It's just the way it is. It's always been in South Florida. And anyways, I'll get old and sad one day too. I just don't get how they're still upset. They're upset. Yeah. They worked their whole damn lives and they were really grumpy because of it. And I would be too if I lived in the city. But it's all good. I love the water down there, and the people that I know and I associate with are pretty damn awesome. So it's a great thing. Yeah.
And what made you make the move down to Florida?
Oh, I'm from Florida. And
originally?
Yeah, Jacksonville. My parents were both Navy in Jacksonville. And so I grew up on Navy bases. So that's what made it easier for me to go in. But yeah, when I was a little kid, I'd get in trouble, and my dad worked at the recruit training center in Orlando, Lake Baldwin, that doesn't exist anymore. And I'd have to go in for the weekend. And I was a 12-year-old kicking the shit out of the PT and these guys into the ground. He's like, if my 12-year-old can do it, you can do it. And it was great fun for me as a kid. But yeah, my dad was a SAR swimmer up north in North Florida, and ended up at the pool at RTC Orlando. And so anybody had signed up for buds was coming through that pool. And I got to be hanging out at the pool with SEAL Team 2. It was like, and that, that's my childhood. That I was like, hell yeah, I'm going in. On 9/11, I was the only one of my friends that knew I was going to have to join. And I was the only one who did. So it was, yeah. And, I mean, it's all in there. I wrote the book, so I didn't have to spend the rest of my life telling orally the stories that are in the book. But it's fun, and it's all, now that I'm done, I really feel like I accomplished one of the reasons I'm still here, and the reason he preserved me. And my son was born 3 years after I was shot in the head, so that's definitely the big reason.
Yep.
And then he's 11 now, so he's loving life. Yeah. And 15 years later, it's getting a lot easier to deal with everything that happened. But time heals. It really does. But so does the Atlantic, the Bermuda Triangle. I'm staring at it. It just blows my mind. Yeah. Sitting in the hospital, sitting in the sandbox. I never even dreamed of this. So, I knew it was going to be better than where I was, but not like this. So I am blessed.
How long was that recovery? How many years
I did.
were?
Long. It's still happening next month, but no, it's just 11 months initially in a hospital bed with tubes in me, and then 6 years of rehab. Initially, and then like I said, this is now I get to work on the psychological. I wanted to get everything accomplished because I thought it would slow me down and complicate everything if I tried to do it while I was going through the process of writing. So now it's time, and it's about time. So I want to unload all that to somebody I can confide in. Of course, everybody likes that, but it also is great therapy just for me to talk to veterans like you and Adam and people we know that just and joke about it, because if you don't make light of the horrible shit in life, then you're doomed to drag ass through life.
It's the unique tribe mentality. We know each other's struggles. I mean, you don't have to suffer the same identical trauma, but it's suffering that connects us. We know what it's like to be at a hospital for a surgery. We know what it's like to be down and out. And when we need it most, it's the voice of a fellow veteran that can keep us engaged in the fight.
Yes.
Which is something that we've all struggled with is, man, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to wake up and go through this shit. I want to just be normal again. And that's difficult. But when you're plugged into a community, when you're plugged into your tribe, it gets infinitely easier.
Yes.
What are some of the things that you do now in staying plugged in the days, especially on the days where you don't want to reach out?
I mean, I actually I've been turning to the Lord. I've been getting a lot more spiritual, almost to the point of it makes me emotional too. So trying to open up that side of my being, or however you want to put it, and philosophical, I guess, Buddhist in some ways. Not even close to hippie, but very deeper level. Just trying to heal, because those scars, they go way down in the guts and the balls. It hurts. So
we tend to neglect that side of us all through our military. I know I did. The spiritual side was the last thing I was focused on. It's always the physical that we want to address. Like, get me back in the fight. Get me back to being physically fit. I don't want to talk about the mental, and I damn sure don't want to talk about the spiritual. But man, that was the missing piece in my own journey, was the spiritual,
Right.
like getting connected back. And for me, it was the catalyst was my wife. My wife is the one that got us back into church.
Yeah.
What was that? What was the thing that pulled you back into thinking about the Spirit? Was it just one day you were just like, shit,
No,
I need
actually,
God
it
in my
was.
life?
Well, to be honest, Alcoholics Anonymous, those meetings that I was going to, and that was the go-to, was having Jesus Christ as the example of how to move forward with your life. And that I think I was in the psych ward 3 times total, and the first 2 times had me turn into the Lord as well. And and then the third time, I'm like, what in God's name am I doing here again? I got to get it together and stay the hell out of the,
Yeah.
So I try to learn my lessons like that, but I also, in the psych wards, I was able to learn lessons from other people's mistakes. So that was the best part. Group therapy was probably the best part of my recovery. And kind of the same thing with veterans. And there was a couple of them in the hospitals, but I was staying at the VA. Both times I ended up doing rehab, and so that environment, even though it's a crappy place to be in your life, you realize that the other guys that are there, same thing. And it's sad, but you're not supposed to make friends in there, but actually some of those guys become friends, whether you want them to or not. And a lot of them, it's interesting. You get to hear the stories on who actually changed their life and who's kind of bumping their head against the wall. But that's life. And I just enjoy every minute of it because I know how blessed I am to be here. And we lost. I've got the lives of 26 people tattooed on me, and the souls, I would say, who I was in the presence of their demise. And maybe not always in Iraq, but it's heavy, that burden. And so that's why I wanted to pierce the skin and get that pain out of my system, and just kind of memorialize them, even though this body's a vessel and it'll be gone. So the art will be gone with it. There'll still be pictures of the art. And at least my son and several people I know will know what I was thinking and I want him to be physically part of my presence here on earth with me. And it's a shame because in the book, I honestly didn't know anybody at Fort Hood the day we got shot, because it was a guard unit and a reserve unit from Wisconsin, I think, which at that time I didn't know anybody from Wisconsin. Now my ex-wife remarried to a Wisconsinite from the Milwaukee area, and I mean the original Mayo Clinic is in Minnesota, southern Minnesota, about an hour from the border with Wisconsin, and it's all the same type of people, and they're really down to earth people, kind of farming, community type of thing, and then there's some city folk mixed in with them, and it makes for a really good environment to recover. And I was blessed to be in the top notch rehab facility that I could be in, and then I also tried out their psych ward, but that's neither here nor there.
The thing I love, Patrick, is you maintain that, when studying the brain, that certain parts, when they're damaged, you might lose identity, you might lose emotion, you might lose your ability to operate your hand, your arm.
Yep.
And emotions, but your humor is still intact. You still have your veteran, the personality that,
he couldn't take that from me.
it's crazy.
No.
It's crazy because think of what a gift, and you have to look at it through that lens of what a gift that is that you still have that, that it was preserved, and it's probably something that you've been able to lean on as a source of comfort when facing the impossible.
Yeah. You know what it was? It was Bethesda, Walter Reed Medical Center. I'm walking around because they don't let you walk around unless you're able to. And so I was doing better in 2014 by that time. And I got to walk around, and I'd hang out down at the wall where the amputees go climbing. And those guys were the funniest because if they don't joke about it, you lose their minds.
Yeah.
And that made me think about it, the whole thing, if I was going to live with the burden for at least a while until I can get to the psychologist's office, then at least I can joke about it and enjoy the time I have outside of that office and all that. And the hospital is my least favorite place or environment in the world. And it's because institutions.
Yeah.
It's just like being in jail, except you got tubes coming out of you. And the most commonly asked question, when am I going to be released? When you're better.
Yeah.
So it's good motivation, but it's also very disappointing and just, It's so anyways, the healing continues every day.
Yeah. One foot in front of the other, always moving forward.
That's right. Help your brothers out, pick them off the ground, and keep moving forward.
Yeah.
I'm about tired of these, this new generation, because they just. I mean, that's my Southern coming out. That's my North Florida. I'm about tired of this.
Yeah. Well,
So,
you bring up a good point. Resilience is now becoming a lost art. People meet an object or they meet resistance, and it's met with
bounce off of
apart.
it.
Yeah, people fall apart, and they're not able to bounce back.
Yeah,
they're not able to
shattered.
persevere. Yeah,
because the puppy dog didn't get a pee break.
Yeah,
or whatever it is. And it's really sad because it's all parenting. It's the 90s generation trying to grow up and trying to raise kids.
Yeah.
And that's Generation X. And now their kids and grandkids are going to screw everything up for a while. And then hopefully we'll have a cycle of new kids that come in and actually snap out of it. But nobody has a crystal ball, especially not me. So I just push through.
Any speaking or activism and get out there and share your story?
It's been a long time, but I'm trying to move into that genre and that field. And I did a couple of high school commencements, and that was really cool because just kids are always more open to everything. And the earlier they learn, the better. And and then I did a Memorial Day or two. Honestly, I can't remember everything I've done, but most of it's online. Thank God you don't have to remember everything anymore. It's in a cloud somewhere.
Yeah, it's in the server.
Yeah.
I just feel it's who better to talk to individuals about not giving up and perseverance than you.
I feel like I can share, and help somebody. And why not contribute if I can?
Yeah.
So, and I know I can, so that's even better. And I'm still mission oriented, it's just a matter of what the mission is and how fast that has to get done. So it's in my mind, I've always been militaristic, I guess is the word, but just kind of focused and organizational. But so that helps my personality and my my psyche. He couldn't take it from me, and I pushed forward with that. And there's so many blessings, man. The people I've been able to meet, the opportunities I've had, and it's a continual thing. So it's just every great thing that comes up in my life, I just feel like that's another reason why I'm here. So it's pretty great feeling. And I know it's going to be all right either way because I'm saved. So,
yeah. You have a purpose, you have a mission. When you have those two things, it makes it infinitely easier to wake up each and every day and attack the day.
And it's different for everybody. You got to find your own purpose.
Yeah.
That's the hardest part, is finding it. And once you realize that you're kind of wavering in the breeze and lost, then you can snap out of it and get yourself back on. It's like falling out of formation during a road march. Like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Gotta get back.
Yeah. All you gotta do is just put in, hey,
double time.
Get back up there. Now the book's done. What's next for you? What's giving you that energy to get up out of bed every morning?
Oh man, it's the answer to most of my problems is the Atlantic Ocean. But no, I swear it's just the best mental health juice you can take. A little meditation. I'm sitting behind my little fake wooden Buddha, and he's meditating on the horizon, and I can see the curvature of the earth, Bermuda Triangle, and a bunch of big ass boats that I'll never own. So
yet there's still time. There's still time.
Yeah. The one thing I really want to do that I haven't done, and I don't know if I want to go the private route, is a cruise line, or just a cruise with a whole hell of a lot of people partying and going to different places on a boat. And because I just spent all day yesterday, about 10 hours on an Amtrak. And
holy cow.
That's what I got to do, because the biggest obstacle is biggest problem I have is I can't drive. And it's because of my vision. That piece of metal went through my optic nerve.
Oh, man.
And so I can be looking straight ahead, dead ahead, 12 o'clock, and I can't see 11 o'clock. So it's just because of my brain, not my actual vision itself.
Yeah.
It's the way it processes occipital lobe. Yeah, I know all the specific parts of the brain now, and I know about half of the chemicals because there's about 20,000 or something. And it's pretty interesting stuff with neuroscience, neuroscience and how the brain works. And there's a lot of my brain that's dead matter, and that's actually how you get fixed, is go around the dead matter.
Yeah.
So I was just thinking about that, and I don't ever think about stuff like that, but I just get better.
Yeah, your brain finds ways to go around what's not working.
Exactly. Yeah.
Have you ever thought about doing the psilocybin treatment?
Yeah, I haven't tried it, but I've thought about everything. I stay wide open to possibilities, including computer chips.
Yeah.
Hey,
Neuralink, baby, Neuralink.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty incredible. We're already there. Yeah. I thought it would take a lot longer, but I'll try anything once to see if it helps.
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta be able to
pragmatism.
Yes, exactly.
Do what works. So yeah, I figure I'll be able to use my hand with the Neuralink or whatever it is, probably about just to fit in with the rest of my life. That's been so ironic. Just the dichotomies and whatever, the words, big words that I don't like to use. It'll happen about 3 months, 90 days before I croak. It'll be I get to enjoy it for a month, and then I'm like, peace out.
Fucking killing me.
Dude, it's that's the way my life has gone, and I would expect nothing less. But that's all good. That would be something to see and experience before, Like I told Adam the other day, I ran out of blood pressure meds the day before. And I said, yeah. So I was like, well, if I leave this place in the next 48 hours, at least I got to go on that 72 footer. We were out there floating around and exploring the yacht all day. And it was great because there's 3 different places the captain can drive the boat from. So he's hopping around all 3 and you don't know where exactly the steering and everything's coming from. It was great. Yeah. Really awesome guy down south with a huge brand new boat called the High Life.
Dang.
Because he was a distributor he was the biggest distributor, I guess, in South Florida for Miller Company for years and years. So he's got a beautiful boat that he named after a beer, which makes sense.
I mean, why not when you got the money?
Well, that's how he got the money.
Yeah.
So that's perfect.
That is perfect. Now tell us about what's the title of the book?
Book is called Both Ends of the Barrel, and it's got a long and unnecessary subtitle, but but it helps you understand.
Patrick, you got to sell it to the people, my man.
No, it's Both Ends of the Barrel, from the troop surge to Fort Hood, a dozen years in the global war. And I've only served 8 years, so there's a little bit of a stipulation there that I got out in 13, and that was a dozen years after 9/11, which started the global war on terror. And I was a part of it, Fort Hood terrorist attack was the second largest attack on U.S. soil after 9/11.
Yeah.
So it was amazing because the 2 Texas senators finally had to step up because our president, whose name shall not be spoken, would not declare it a terrorist attack because he didn't want it on his record. Anyways, 5 years took us to get Purple Hearts, and that was because the 2 senators stepped up and changed the criteria through Congress that if you're an active duty service member anywhere in the world and you're a victim of a legitimate terrorist attack, you get the Purple Heart because it's a global war. Yeah. And so that's very interesting. And I've tried to keep track of how many guys, around the world have benefited from that legislation. Not that it's, and that important to me, but it's also pretty interesting to me that it took Congress or the Senate to step up and introduce that bill because the president wouldn't do the right thing. And that's okay. That's in the past. And I finally got it, and I get to enjoy that benefit every month. And just another part of of still being here is, thank God, I as long as the U.S. Treasury exists, I'm okay. And so thank you all for paying your taxes.
We greatly appreciate it.
Yes. And it's sad to say, because I never, when you sign up, you're going to war, you are. And you think the worst thing could be you die, but then you don't realize that 25 years later, you still belong to the U.S. government. And and if you survive, it's okay. I know how to deal with him. And I've avoided going to lawyers and going that route because hopefully, I don't have to. But persistence and being resilient is the biggest thing that I learned in the hospitals, and that's how you have to be with the VA.
Yeah.
So persistent.
Abso-fucking-lutely. It is the single worst fucking experience any veteran will go through, is having to fight for the benefits that they rightfully deserve. And so many of our veterans are constantly in that fight, and they don't make it easy.
Yeah.
Not make it easy.
And then they wonder why there's guys on the streets, and then they have to start programs to help them and start the cycle all over again. So it's all broken, and that's okay because we get to fix it. The guys that have, experienced it.
Yeah.
You get to fix it through guidance, leadership, and tenacity.
Yeah.
Grow some damn balls and do your jobs. Anyways, Yeah, that's all I got to say about that. The book is, it's really the biggest part of my life this year and from now on. And getting that story out there so, as many people can read it as possible. And thankfully I was a little benevolent. I wouldn't say that because I try to stay humble. I'm not elevated because I wrote a book. Lots of people have written books, especially about war. But just a matter of I wanted to include in different perspectives and introspections from other people into it because it's all a part of the story. And and so I've got my ex-wife in there. I went a little crazy on her, more than a little crazy on her, and it's in there. And then the first responder that day, Kim Griffin, who was called to the scene of the shooting with 40 people laying on the ground, and her actual memories of that day and pretty incredible stuff that I wanted to have in there. You got my perspective, which is, I think, well, I it's kind of the whole reason you buy the book. You want to hear the story. But then I didn't. It was pretty simple. I didn't know anybody, and then I was crawling on the ground.
Yeah.
So, but no, I added that in because just it made sense. And if I hadn't included their versions, then nobody would hear them. So,
yeah. Were you able to maintain a good relationship, a working relationship with your ex-wife?
yeah, I really was, and it continues. But it's all for our son. We agreed we were going to make it easier for him if we could.
Yeah.
And yeah, and that's the best thing. It both made us more mature. I think I'm more mature. I know I am. I don't know about her, but she ended up getting sick, which I won't go into details. But yeah, she got a little bout with cancer, and
man.
yeah, and so that is very sad, and it made it easier for me to empathize and kind of see her side of it, and then realize what the hell I put her through in our marriage. So
yeah, because I think when you look at the history and the amount of devotion somebody has to pour into their significant other to help them along that recovery, that there's still a lot of love and care.
Yep.
Were you able to capture some of that in the book as well?
Yeah, I mean, excuse me. Towards the end of the book, I kind of am trying to gear or turn the corner, so it kind of the end of the book kind of leads into the future.
Yeah,
and I didn't organize it well enough to go chronological or anything in the book. It's kind of just a bunch of stories thrown together because I got a jumbled up mind, and
it's okay.
Yeah, and I'm sitting there repeating stories that I've already told. Some of them are word for word paragraphs. With the editing we screwed up on, I cut the strings, man. I was struggling, and I knew if I didn't just cut the strings and back away from the whole project that I was going to die. So, or end up in the hospital, which is equivalent to me.
Yeah.
And so I cut the strings about 60 days short. I just couldn't do it. And thankfully hopefully I have a chance be able to correct that one of these days, re-edit it. And but the content itself is solid. I mean, I really dug deep for the stories, and was trying to be as honest as possible. I wanted it to feel like we were sitting around an air terminal in Kuwait, just telling stories. And that's honestly what it turned out that way. So I'm happy, satisfied with the way it turned out. And but yeah, it's just something I had to do, needed to be done. So I'm living at the beach and I got time. Why not do it?
Yes.
And yep, it turned out great, and I'm really happy I did it. And keep pushing forward and living on the beach, just loving this every minute of it. And the good, the bad, the ugly. I really do enjoy every minute of it. And I know the spirits are here with me and get to enjoy a little bit, hopefully.
Yeah.
I know that, or I know my relationship with God and what's going to happen when I go. And I just to have this good feeling of acceptance and awareness. And I wish that more people could be like me. I'm liberated pretty much from the prison I was in that hospital. And it really feels good. So I will stop blabbering. But
not blabbering at all, brother. Patrick, I can't thank you enough for being vulnerable, willing to share your journey, man. It is nothing short of amazing. It's
thank you.
It's a miracle you're here with us today, and it's not lost on you. You don't come across as somebody that's just like, nah, it's all right.
No, I mean, how can you ignore that slap in the face? It's just, I just think that sometimes the spirit, God shows himself on earth. And I just think that there's many different things that happen every day that you just kind of let it slide off your back and you don't realize that is God right there. Yeah. And thankfully most vets understand that, my story. And when I'm talking to them face to face, it was God and the spirit that saved me. And so now I get to carry on for a little while and, loving it. So thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate this opportunity and hope we're in touch. Stay in touch. And I'm going to be a fan now. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, brother. It was nothing short of amazing being here, holding space and being able to hear your story, man.
Space time. I love it. It's just great. I really do appreciate it, man.
Absolutely. Thanks again, brother. And to everybody out there, remember, when you're going through something, don't let it win. Keep fighting. Keep fucking fighting. And at the end of the day, if you need some motivation, just think of Patrick.
Easy metaphor. You're just getting over the hill. You're just fighting up a hill. That's all.
That's it. Till next time,
Thanks
everybody.
again, man. Thank you.
Take care. If you like what we're doing and you're enjoying the show, don't forget to share us, like us, subscribe, and head on over to our Patreon where you can be part of our community and get access to all of our episodes as soon as they drop. And remember, we get through this together. Take care.